Tonight on Behind the Details with Chelsea, we sit down with Josh and Dan from Detail Addicts. We're going to be discussing some of the innovative products, tools, and chemicals that they have designed with the intent of making the detailing industry better. So tonight, we're going to take a closer look at those products, answer any questions that you guys might have about Detail Addicts, and get to know them a little bit better. So let's go ahead and get started with the show. Good evening, everyone. I am so honored to have Dan and Josh with me from Detail Addicts. Just to give you guys a little backstory, and I feel like I always do this when I start one of my podcast episodes, but I try to bring people on that either I have worked with in the past that I want to know more about, or people that I just honestly am genuinely curious because I like to ask those questions that most people are going to think of. But I've been using Detail Addicts products, I think, since I started detailing. At least your platinum polish has been out for how many years, Josh?
Coming up on 6 years now.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I might have bought it when it was like brand new. It was right when I was starting to get into paint correction. But you have some fantastic hybrid compounds and polishes that I've been using for years when it comes to paint correction. And then you came out with a battery-powered ozone generator, which we're going to talk about all of those things, as well as some of the other tools and products that you have designed over the years. But I'm just really excited to get to know you guys a little bit more and for other people to get to know you, because I feel like you're not talked about a lot online, and maybe that's intentional. But tonight we're going to shed some light on Detail Addicts. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So, Josh, how long have you been detailing?
So I've been detailing since 2017 professionally.
Okay. And Dan, what about you?
About 8 years or so. I don't know
Okay.
what year that was, but yeah.
Okay. And so, Josh, what made you want to start a company? Like, what made you start Detail Addicts?
That's a good question. I genuinely love cars, and I've been into racing and sports cars and stuff my whole life, and I just really wanted to be part of the industry at some point. And I was looking for a place that not only I felt I could fit in and belong in, but would be type of an environment I would thrive and do well in. So I looked at detailing, and I was like, that looks like fun. I could get into with that, and decided to go that route.
Okay. So what were some of the first products that you came up with?
So the first product I came up with was a platinum hybrid polish, and then shortly following that, we released Diamond, which is actually named after Dan down there, because the first R&D bottle that we whipped up after the lab was sent over to him for further developing testing outside of my shop.
Yep.
Diamond
I
Detail.
kind of suggested we need something that's going to cut a little heavier for your harder paint surfaces. I still want it to finish down like platinum, but let's put more of the heavy stuff in there that's going to cut harder. And we did that, and we tested it out, and it worked really well on the very first version. And we go, what are we going to call this? And I go, well, my business is named Diamond Detail and Tint, and it was my idea. Why don't we call it Diamond? It cuts hard. So that's how that came to be.
So I'm gonna nerd out a little bit on you, or maybe I'll think I'm nerding out, and it's not. When it comes to your polishes and your compounds, are they SMAT? Are they DAT? Which are they?
They're a DAT. They're diminishing abrasive technology.
Okay.
What it is, though, is that it's not one abrasive type. It's multiples and different sizes of those abrasives. And we added some special sauce additives in there that I won't get too deep into, that help hold them together. So that way, as they're polishing, as the big one wears down, it wears down to the next level, and that wears a little longer since there's a pair of those, and it just keeps stepping inward on itself and refining back down, but also working its runtime out longer.
How do you even design something like that? Like, how do you know that on a scientific level? Like, can you see it actually
under a microscope? You can, yeah.
You can, yes. I also happen to pick the brain of some very smart chemists that are in the industry to kind of help me take my idea and help me walk into the vicinity I was kind of looking for. And that person also helped me with the certain additives that we put in there, because after we started to kind of get it in, he's like, try this little tweak. Yeah, it's good. Could be better. I suggest this. And we added it and it continued to work. So it's just been a growing evolution of a theory of, instead of one, what if one acted like many, and we bound them together as a team.
What makes a good polish a good polish?
I would say a good polish is one that doesn't just work, that works for you in the environment and the situations of polishing that you do. If you're in a large volume shop and cost is concerned, that's a brand that's maybe cost effective, but also has a large voluming to it. You can buy it in 55-gallon barrels. If you're doing more of the performance, smaller orientation, or the medium flow of business, I like a polish personally that, not only just works, but has a long working life that can work in different environments. That, if it's a little warmer out or we're getting direct sun from a mobile job, it's not going to drastically impact its performance and cause me to have issues. And one that's reliable, one that I can kind of learn what paint types, what paint polishes work with, and develop a system and just kind of look at vehicles and go, this is X level of defective. I need to correct it with the following plans, and start there as my test spots to dial in.
What vehicles conditions would you say platinum would be the one that you would choose, and how would that contrast to diamond? Like, I know that there are a lot of people, unless you're doing paint correction a lot, I get that question a lot. What's soft, what's medium, what's hard paint? Like, how do you determine that? But in your experience, what vehicles and conditions do those products work best with?
Yeah. So platinum and diamond, platinum's the polish and diamond's the compound. But that's just done for marketing sake, if you will. They're not a whole lot difference between the two products chemically wise. They're almost identical with the same ingredients.
Yeah, they have the same working time too.
It's the level of abrasives and which ones have more larger surface abrasives versus one has more of the smaller fine finishing ones. So in vehicles that are maybe very soft or softer in the paint type, or don't have maybe too much damage and defects, I would recommend starting with platinum. It has a lot of strength and work time in that it can remove quite a bit of defects in relatively short time and have a long work time, but it will refine out on itself and give you a lot higher gloss and jewel point to it. If on the contrast, if you're working with something that's, say, German or a very hard paint type, or it's got a heavy defect to it, diamond would be my recommendation on that, because while it has the same refining capabilities and jeweling and long work time, it's got a lot more of an aggressive blend in the abrasives on the aggressive side of that scale. And so that it will cut more during that same cut point and then refine out at the same pass level or whatever, where it starts to become finished and polished.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
I mean, it's going to depend on that person's skill set too. If you're somebody who is a weekend warrior who just likes to do your own car, you may not know the difference between hard and soft paint. You're just used to your vehicle. Always start with your least aggressive method and work up from there to find out what's going to work, but make sure you don't burn through the paint at the same time. Yeah. And platinum and diamond, we designed that to where even a beginner who doesn't know how to polish can safely use this product, all the way up to your professionals that have production shops that do a couple hundred vehicles a month that say, we want to just do a one step and clean it up really quick. We love platinum because even though it doesn't remove everything in every paint job, it gets the perfect results that our customers are looking for, and we can get them out the door faster. So,
one of the reasons why I think platinum a lot more than diamond. I don't get a ton of German vehicles, high-end vehicles. Like, hard paint is, I would say 25% of the details. I typically am like soft or medium, and I feel like paints nowadays are becoming softer and like stickier.
Yeah.
But if
Sticky
I get
for sure.
yeah, if I get like a Toyota, a Dodge, typically your Japanese paints, they're more medium. Platinum is like perfect. I had a Dodge Ram, I was telling you guys earlier, Dodge Ram 2500 heavy duty black with brown metallic flake in it. I didn't even know it had metallic flake in it. It was so badly scratched and so dulled. I did platinum polish, and I mean, this thing was probably 8 inches taller than me. I was eye level with the side mirror. This thing was huge. It was lifted. And then it had a cap on the back of the truck. So this thing, I knew I was in for a long day of paint correction.
Oh, yeah.
My arms were like dead. Thank God for your platinum, because I could literally see with my light within the first pass, like 20 to 50% of the scratch is gone. You go like a second pass. I did like 3 passes. That's it. And I wasn't even like 1 inch per second. I was literally like this because I was like, I do not care. And I got probably 75% paint correction in 1 step. And I was like, meh. So, and I mean, that's one of the scenarios that I like it when I have to do a 1 step, and I don't want to necessarily skimp. You know, if I'm doing like a gloss enhancement, I might not use that. It might be overkill. You know, but if you're doing like ceramic coating prep and you want to do really good correction, but you also, maybe the customer doesn't want to pay for a 2-step, that's where I think it's perfect.
Yep. That's where I utilize it in my business all the time. I do a lot of coatings, and I'll ask my customers beforehand. We'll take a walk around the vehicle in the sunlight. What are the defects that you see? What bothers you about this? You know,
defects? What's that?
Yeah. They'll look at it and they go, oh, it's new. It looks perfect. You know, I don't think it needs anything. Okay, perfect. I'm going to 1-step this with platinum, but okay, this one's a black GM. I'm going to use diamond on this one so I can get a little bit better result because I see defects that they don't see.
You're using diamond on black GM?
Oh, yeah. How? I work it a little bit slower. So I am going a little bit slower. I've been using a ton of Lake Country pads, but recently I've noticed they're not the same quality that they've used to be, and I'm going through them a lot more. So I've just recently made the switch to the Buff and Shine Edge Guard pads. I like that because it's just automatically centered on my backing plate.
What color? What color pad with black GM paint? I need to know. There needs to be like a secret book for this.
Usually the blue one does a really nice job. I have a bad habit of heat cycling my paint, so I get it really nice and hot. I use that diamond. I extend it maybe 5 or 6 passes, and I use a lot of pressure. I'm getting 99% corrections that finish down, so I don't have to go back over it with a second step at all. The more heat you give platinum and diamond, and the longer you work them into the surface, the more they turn into an oil on the surface, and you don't have to fix micromarring at the end. If you're getting micromarring, work it a little bit longer.
That diminishing abrasive.
Yes.
That's one of the added. So the additives that we put in there, again, I'm not going to go into that. It's the secret sauce of the sauce. But one of them
feel free to tell.
is a bit of a chemical polish. So when you said you're just going and it's instantly eating it, that's that. It's before the abrasives have even started to do their job. Yes.
And they're suspended in a liquid.
So it's not a short cycle product.
No, that is the one thing that I keep trying to tell people that no one listens to me on. The secret with our products is they have long working times. They do
dust a little, though.
They do. That's part of the abrasive blend. I will tell you, one of the abrasives is kaolin clay. It's affordable. It is a very common abrasive.
Did you say kale?
Kaolin.
Okay, I was like, are we talking lettuce? Like,
no, that's what it's called.
Crunchy, but
the street name for it is known as
you
Chinese
said organic.
clay.
I didn't know you meant organic.
Yeah, it's basically a Chinese clay, but it's cost effective. It's very common in a lot of polishes, but things that dust up, that is an indicator that you're using something of like a kaolin clay base or typed abrasive in there. There are others, they come in a blend of types and stuff, but that's generally what gives you that. So we don't just rely on that, because that is one of the problems we try to avoid, is a heavy dusting situation. So it's a blending of things.
I use a rinseless wash to wipe my polishes off, though, so I don't really get too mad about dusting. I just get mad when like I've moved on from the ceiling, the roof, and it was like so tall, and I was like, I did panel prep, and then I go back and I'm like, oh frick, I got dust on there.
We try to keep it down, just because like Dan does detailing and tint. So if you're working in like a tint shop, having dust in the place is it's a critical killer for your business. So the less we can put in the air that he has to combat and constantly try to keep challenging, the better we make it for him and his business too. So
I'm not a millionaire yet. I don't have a clean room. Not yet, but
just try to make the best product that we can. It's a bit of a jack of knife of all things. So it's one of those, is it the hardest cutter? No. Is it the best finisher? No. But the things that it does is all of it. It really stands out on its own.
It's made to replace your traditional 2 steps on most vehicles in just 1 step. You might extend your single step, but you're still saving time over doing a full 2 step.
Nice.
And we do know some guys in the industry that are actually using diamond and platinum in a 2-step process.
Yeah.
So they're
that's
cutting
their go-to.
They're cutting with diamond, finishing with polish or with platinum.
With platinum.
Yep.
Just switching out the pads and the products. And I'm like,
smart.
that's crazy. I never thought to use it like that because I can get a lamb's wool pad to finish down on black paint with diamond. I'm notorious.
Someone's a little cocky.
We need to send him to Christopher.
I'm not the great. Yeah, I got. You put me up against Cormy, I'll lose every time, guaranteed. But
I'm just teasing you. I'm actually I'm a little impressed because sometimes I have a black Silverado for my husband's truck, and every time that the kids bump up against it or we have PDR done and I have to recoat a panel, I'm like, I hate this paint.
Yeah, it's rough sometimes.
Yeah, I've learned to just not care as much anymore. Like I've had to just let it go to God. Like I've released it.
Yep.
But when
Once
it comes
to that first imperfection, after that it's out of sight, out of mind.
When it comes to developing products, I can't imagine that's cheap. Like how you don't have an investor, correct?
No, we're out of pocket. Out of my pocket too, which is not very deep.
I'm curious, like what does it cost to start up a company like that? Like your first product was platinum. How expensive was that to get that first product up and running?
I definitely did not take the road that was frequently traveled in this situation. I did it for shoestring pennies on the dollar. And if you were to ask me, well, how much, I don't even want to tell you because that's not the way to go about and do things. I shot myself in the foot early off in the beginning. But
if we had to come up with a number on it, I would say if you're going to be somebody who starts off in the industry as a manufacturer and you want to come out with one solid product that's reliable and is going to stick around, start with $10,000.
Yeah.
That's just a rough estimate, a number, because there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be marketing involved. There's labeling and bottles. And
that's not even going with, say you make it yourself. Well, then there's the gambling risk of buying the ingredients. And did we waste them all to get nothing? Or did we come up with the golden pot, if you will, of chemical? And then you say you do get lucky and you get it to be a success. Will you go and drop it out of the lab into the real world and maybe something happens where it doesn't work like you think it did? You lost the money there again and you have to recoup and start all over. So 10 grand is a good starting point. I'd tell people for one thing, because that also goes if, say, you don't decide to make it in-house yourself and you want to go to a blender like B&B, Stinger Chemical, or a few of these other ones. You're now banking on what they provide. And if you don't like what they provide, they'll happily make you something different or change the color or scent.
But it will cost you additional. I know that cost. It's not
cheap. No. So if you're going to go about and try to do it on the cheap, I don't recommend it. It is a painful battle to do, but it can be done. It's many of the reasons. Yeah, it's many of the reasons why you don't know so much about us now, or that's why certain brands who may have come out after us are more known and reputable. They started with more capital, and that has a huge benefit in the equation of this at all times. So
this is literally small business at its finest.
Yep. Yes.
Entrepreneurial. So beyond platinum, diamond, what are some of the other products that you guys have? I know you got really big into 3D printing there for a while.
Yes.
So what is it that you wanted to do with that range of products?
So the 3D printer was from a product that right before COVID, I wanted to make a battery powered ozone machine. In self-defense, I thought it would be a great solution to try to help the COVID epidemic by getting more ozone machines and getting them into places where normally we weren't putting them due to the cords. That was an idea that took almost 4 years to get developed and, create and get the prototypes and stuff done. And that's really where the 3D printer comes in at, because to get somebody to make your tool yourself, I was quoted from several brands, I will not name drop, that in our industry that are big tool makers, 6, 7, 10 years, we can start. by the way, go get your patents and stuff first, because otherwise we don't want any involvement at all. Yep. So now I have to also start paying for lawyers and drawing up patent paperwork and proving it to the patent agency that this is a real thing, and make sure that this isn't something that's been patented too. So the 3D printer was really a great way for me to not only prototype, but then we figured out quickly that to make that product and have a tool maker make it, like say the housing's plastic, to have it injection molded, that's $250,000 plus for the mold itself. Mm-hmm. For the mold to make the thing, not including the cost of the material, the labor, the electricity, all of
the mistakes beginning to
yes.
dial it in right.
If you need to change a screw hole a millimeter away or something like that, that's a whole new mold. That's another $250,000. So it allowed us to not only, since we don't have money like that, to get to the market much earlier than we could have. It allowed us to get to the market in an affordable way that allowed us to play in the beginning instead of just having an idea that sits here for a decade or more, trying to make $250,000.
Now, what is the reasoning behind doing a 3D printed ozone generator versus how every other company out there does it, metal?
I like this one. So ozone, it's forcing oxidation. Oxidation is rust. That's what happens to metal. That's it's easy as.
And we're not going to bash on China. They're a fantastic country. Xi Jinping, please leave me alone. Look, things that are painted in China are going at a high breakneck speed down the assembly lines and this and that. It's not always the best paint job on some of the stuff you get from things. Sometimes it's thin. Sometimes it's not bonded properly. It's only a matter of time before it gets scratched and you start that ticking time bomb of a process.
Yeah,
and it's just going to keep
you're generating ozone in a metal box right here. If you chip the corner of that box, the ozone is going to touch that metal box first, and that's going to start building up rust over time.
Plus, electricity and metal don't really go well together with people touching it, so we try to insulate things and keep people from shocking themselves as much as they possible.
And don't worry, because it's plastic, people have asked us, well, how durable is that? Because metal sounds a lot more durable than plastic. You could put 300 pounds on top of our plastic unit and it will not bend.
I can stand on them.
Yes.
Oh. Hopefully you're not breaking.
Don't use it as a step, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, please don't. Use it in its intended use, not to test out what we've done in R&D to make sure that it's going to be good.
So I know we have some people in the chat that are listening and watching, and I'm curious to know from them, which do they prefer, ozone versus chlorine dioxide? I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. Okay. I'm curious to know from you guys, what is the advantage of doing ozone versus chlorine dioxide? And are there limitations to ozone?
Yes. So for the first part, we'll just kind of start off with cost, and I'll let Dan kind of break that down in a second. But another great aspect of ozone versus, say, like chlorine dioxide, ozone is a naturally occurring thing. It happens in our world. It's formed around us to keep us safe in the earth and stuff like that. This isn't something that we're having to, we are making our version of it, but we don't have to bust out a laboratory kit every time and synthesize chemicals to make this process. It's naturally occurring. Ozone
even
also
though it's
has,
toxic?
Yes and no.
If you were to go up to the ozone layer in our atmosphere, there'd be no oxygen up there, and that would be harmful for you as well. So,
but I'm saying, well, if we're not supposed to breathe it in the vehicle, I had someone yelling at me in the comment section of the video I just uploaded. They were like, "You should have been in the car." It's, and I was like, I literally held my breath and was in it for 10 seconds. Is it going to?
You can actually look at the EPA's website. They do list ozone as being an irritant and not something you should voluntarily expose yourself up to in a lot. As you were holding your breath in the car, it's like if you went under the water for a second snorkeling. You didn't expose your lungs to the water.
Yeah.
Same thing with the gas. You didn't actually expose yourself in that front. The second one is ozone is mostly known as an irritant. If you have asthma or conditions similar to asthma with respiratory conditions, that is where it's really considered a concern for people for that aspect. Because ozone, when it gets in the human body, it can irritate the lungs, the esophagus, the nose, the mucus glands, and the eyes. So you're going to get watery eyes, snot's coming out. You don't like breathing in this spicy air a little bit. That is about the most you'll encounter. If you have asthma, it can trigger an asthma reaction, and that is why the EPA wants to list it as a potential hazard. But ozone is not going to kill you. In fact, ozone's one of the things that keeps us from being vaporized off this big blue marble that we call Earth. So it is being a little bit over criminalized here. Also, it has to be done in concentration levels that are high. And your exposure to what you're putting in that car and the amount of actual air seal quality a vehicle is nowadays is going to take a long running time to create that toxic environment of a buildup level of that. So you're generally not exposing yourself to that level of concentration, and not even close to it for the amount of time that they're even concerned about. Going in, holding your breath.
The vehicle while the machine was running for 15 minutes, and you said,
yeah, we don't recommend that.
Yeah,
you're definitely going to hurt yourself. Yeah,
you won't pass out.
The
air will be spaced. Yeah,
but for about 5 days, you'll be coughing a lot, and it'll be really hard to take a deep breath. I've done it. It's
the best way I can tell people what that sensation is too is because I've actively wanted to and learn more, and I've done.
It's like you pepper sprayed yourself. It's okay.
It's either like that, or if I hate to say this, if you smoke cigarettes, we all know as smokers, smoking cigarettes will paralyze the cilia in your throat, which makes you want to cough. That is exactly what ozone gas is doing. Yes. It's temporarily paralyzing the cilia in your throat. They bounce back after a few minutes. And that's the one other benefit to ozone. It has a relatively stably predictive half-life. If you run it for 1 minute, give it 2 minutes of air out time. The breakdown time on the molecule and stuff is very predictive, and it is not super long lasting. So it's great for creating an environment, using it, and then emptying the environment back to a habitable condition, whereas something like chlorine is not exactly something people mix well with in the human body all the time.
Right. Not to say that chlorine dioxide tablets don't work to remove odors in a vehicle.
They do.
They definitely do. And they're just about as harmful as the ozone machine, to be completely honest with you. Now, as far as long-term, me personally, I like the ozone machine because I purchased it one time. The tablets, you can find them for, what did you say, about $26 for a one-time purchase. But if you're, somebody at your home doing just one car every so often, that's totally fine. You may not want to spend $300 on an ozone unit or even $100 on an ozone unit for $26 for one use. Not a problem. But if you're a production shop and you're going to do 100 cars a month, that $26 can get you one car, you said, but then you can buy them in bulk. You might be able to get 10, 15 cars out of your bulk purchase, but you're going to have to keep remembering to order everything, or order in massive quantities then, and then have spots on your shelf to fit that. And there's a lot of different efficiency things that can come into that with different shops. And a lot of those higher end shops that do that production work, they're all about their numbers and space and efficiency and how much does it cost per vehicle in towels and chemicals.
Electricity is a whole lot cheaper compared to chemical, especially when our unit barely draws more than 130 watts at full operation. So,
and if you use a battery, it can take any electricity.
You just need a big enough battery. I learned that. I put the 2 amp battery on it, and I was like 40. I left for an hour, and I was like, oh no, it turned off after half an hour.
Usually a 4, 5, 6 amp hour is the average whenever you see a lot of tool companies advertising how many runs or nails a tool will shoot or whatever. They're basing it off that. They make 9, 10 amp hour batteries now. They're massive.
One. Yeah.
They're huge, and they'll go the distance for you. But the 2 amp hours are great for sending out the kits, the free guns. They're for the limited. You want to put 6 screws in and you're done. A light 5-minute, 10, 15-minute ozone treatment, it'll do the same thing. But if you're doing a shop or a longer or medium term stuff, we'd recommend switching to a medium-sized battery.
Right. Or plug it in.
Yeah. Okay. So again, I have some devil's advocate questions that I'm going to ask. Okay. When you're doing a chlorine dioxide treatment, I've been told that if we have the air on recirculate, and we only need to have it on recirculate for like 15, 20 minutes, then turn it off. For me, I was told that if I open the door to turn that off, that the gas like immediately stops working. Like it's done. Like it's kind of kaput because I've released that gas or whatnot. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but it definitely is probably diminishing the potency of that gas that's been in the chamber of the vehicle and like dissipating it. With the ozone, is that the case? Like, has it weakened the amount of ozone in the vehicle? Does it take more time? It's like when you take the lid off of a crock pot, you know, they say it takes 15 minutes for it to build back up heat. With the ozone, if I'm turning off the vehicle and then just letting it run, am I losing some of its efficacy by opening up that door? Like, how long does it need to run to be efficient?
So depends on the size of the vehicle and the level of the contamination. I know that's no actual real answer, and I understand that. For context, though, a small car with small to medium damage, 15 to 20 minutes at max. It doesn't take much. It's a small square or cubic square foot of space that you're trying to create a concentration to. Your Suburbans and Tahoes with that extended back cab and stuff, they have more space than actually a pickup truck does on the inside. So it's going to take a longer run time to build that concentration level up. That's going to go with chlorine dioxide or ozone. You're creating a fogger of gas in either version, and you're needing to reach a concentration level in the entire space. Whether you're trying to put the chlorine dioxide, say it's in the cup holder in the front, and you're trying to get it to the back of the Tahoe, you still got to wait for the gas to make its way back there and do the same thing. Same thing with
the front's probably already cleaned. And the back still needs it.
And if you're opening the door, you're opening the seal up, and it's allowing the gas to pressurize out and release into the environment. So you've reduced the potency level in that. That's going to be with anything. The difference that's going to come is with a chlorine dioxide, you've added chemical to water, you're bubbling to create the oxygen effect and disperse it. Our machine's using electricity arcing across metal plates. So if you open the door and close it, you still have a meter that's running out on that bomb before it runs out of chemical stuff. When you close the door afterwards, ours goes back up to full output again. It's continuing to fill it up, and it will continue to run until the battery's done or you've lost electricity. It has ability to go longer over time.
So I know ozone has lost popularity over the last few years. When I first started detailing, it was the only thing that was out there for smoke odor removal. But we had these big commercial grade units with a tube that you had the unit actually outside of the vehicle. You had a pipe, and then you would put foam around the glass, and you would literally draw fresh air outside and pump the ozone into the vehicle.
I can solve this solution really fast.
But I know that everyone always would say that even when we would buy these Amazon units, you know, and we have the cord, they would say crack the window a little bit because it needs fresh air in order to work. And I would be like, but isn't it just leaking all of the ozone out into
You don't
outside?
need
What do we need to
air.
do?
So technically you need the O2, which is your fresh oxygen, to create ozone because it's O3. But the more you pump in,
the harder it has to work.
So
that's what I always thought. It
makes no sense.
Like I was working harder, especially if I'm like, I have a window cracked, because I would go up to the window and I could smell that ozone. And sometimes I do enjoy the smell of it. And I'm like, ooh, that smells good. But I'm like, but it's not going to be as strong, and it has to work longer and harder. So the thing that I was intrigued about yours is that if I'm using the battery, I don't have to have a cord with the window open where the ozone is leaking out, and I have to work it longer. So now it's going to take shorter amount of time to get just this little bit of air in the cabin. Boom, done. So
the pure air, the fresh air, the thing, I cannot prove this. This is my own statement. Please don't affect anybody else in that. I feel like that is nothing more than marketing gimmick by other brands because they have not figured out a way to detach the cord from this thing to put it in the sealed area. So
there is a reason we have a patent on that idea, right?
It's easier to just tell you to keep it outside because you just plug it and you're done. But and then pipe it in and seal things off. Right. And
those were expensive units.
Yeah,
more expensive than yours.
To set it up is very inefficient for somebody who's
and you can't do it in the rain.
No. Whereas ours, you can. Now, cars don't seal perfectly like submarines. You drive a car into a lake, it will flood inside the cabin before you lose the oxygen.
Sometimes when I'm doing an ozone generator and I'm washing a car, I get bubbles on the outside. So I know water's leaking somewhere, air's leaking somewhere.
Right. So the best we do is by putting the machine in the car with a battery and rolling all the windows up and trying to seal it off. It's just allowing us to hit that concentration level inside the cabin much faster and get it to that point to hold it there for the amount of time that it takes to sterilize, sanitize, and remove the odor. When you roll down the windows and open the doors, it's like you thought. The gas is going to start blowing out and flowing everywhere, and it's going to disappear, and that's going to drop off quickly. So the pure air, in my opinion, is nothing more than marketing gimmick to help hide the fact that they can't put their machine in the car. So or it's very awkward.
Do you then recommend, instead of running the AC on recirculate and then turning it off, just have the vehicle on for the duration? Don't open that seal. Just, if it's 20, 30, 40 minutes, just make sure there's enough gas in the vehicle.
That's going to depend on like what smell you're trying to remove and how severe it actually is.
Okay. What's some of the worst that you've dealt with, Dan?
The worst that I've dealt with, a woman one time ran over a skunk. It sprayed. She said, "Wow, that smells terrible." Decided to pick the skunk up and take it to a vet. And it died inside her vehicle.
That's bad.
I just had rotting chicken left in the back seat of a Suburban for 2 weeks while they were on vacation.
That one was bad too. I remember helping you with that one. That was bad.
And did it work? What chemicals did you use? Is my next question.
So I use BioBreak. It's a powder. I get it on Amazon for it changes price constantly. Some days it's $60, some days it's $80. But when I break it down per cost of vehicle, it's like 10 cents for a whole car. It's just an enzyme cleaner, a good strong pH neutral enzyme cleaner. It's a little bit more on the alkaline side, but I'll wipe everything down with that. Of course, I'll do my vacuum, I'll blow out, I'll clean everything, wipe everything down with the enzyme treatment. And then I'll throw my ozone in there. What I do at the same time, I have one of those dry pods to help dry the carpets a little bit. And if I'm just doing an enzyme release agent instead of extracting, the carpets will be a little bit damp. They're not going to be super wet, because if they're super wet, that's going to reduce the effectiveness of ozone as well.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second, because you taught me something this week.
So when I'm doing that, I have the dry pod going, and it's recirculating air inside the vehicle while the ozone's going at the same time. So not only is it drying out the carpets, it's also filling the cabin faster with the ozone. I only need about 20, 30 minutes with ozone for something that severe.
I'm going to interrupt you. Hang on. Did you say you have damp carpets when you do an ozone generator?
I have a fan going on those carpets at the exact same time.
But are they still a little wet? Because I was always told, tell me if I'm wrong, I was always told, and I said it in the video, that when you have H2O and O3, it can make hydrogen peroxide. I've had some detailers tell me like the tips of the carpet can get bleached when you run an ozone treatment with wet carpet. So that's why I've always drilled, make sure it's dry. Because I've had
if you're pumping high concentration levels of ozone in, yeah, you could, but you're 9 times out of 10, you're nowhere getting close to that. You're nowhere even.
You have to be on an extreme to cause that, but there is always that risk, right? We always have
that's
to
why I just let it dry.
Yeah, and that's not a bad idea. Me, I've got to get to the next car right away while I'm still waiting for that one to dry. So I'm putting my dry pod in there, and
insurance for me.
Exactly. Like I have insurance in place too, and like for me, I don't want to push those limits. If I'm extracting a vehicle's carpet, I won't do the ozone at the same time. I will wait till the next day. 100%, because I don't want to run that risk. If they're just a little bit damp, like I kind of dusted them or misted them with the enzyme cleaner, scrubbed it, and then dapped it with a towel to see what I get out of the carpets, and I've already vacuumed after that. There's not enough moisture in there to create that hydrogen peroxide.
Good to know. So. Good to know. But anyways, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, what you were talking about earlier. But I did want to get to the humidity thing, because I didn't know that.
Yes. Humidity plays a direct role just as the moisture would. Humidity is the moisture in the air, and that's why our units come with the hydrometer right on the face of it. It gets to tell you if your vehicle's too humid to do an ozone treatment. If you're up in the 80% range, wait until that dries. because you can create that hydrogen peroxide.
So what if you live in where Jamie lives, like Louisiana?
It's going to be muggy.
Swamp. Yeah.
It's definitely going to be muggy. But if the vehicle's dry to the touch, the moisture in the air is going to reduce the effectiveness. You have to run it twice as long then.
Yeah, where I live in Florida is the same problem with high humidity levels. Basically, the ozone machine is trying to use electricity to split the O2 molecules in half. So there's just O1s, and O1 doesn't like to be alone. It's scared. So it looks for the nearest stable molecule of O2 and bonds to it temporarily, making the O3. But in doing so, when you're trying to do that across a humid environment, there's a lot more moisture in the air. The unit's struggling to find the oxygen molecules mixed with the water ones in there to split the molecules to do the thing. So you're having to run it longer to find that same amount of dry air in there to cause that. And also, humidity in that aspect, humidity plus oxidation equals rust. So the more you're running it and stuff like that can cause sometimes components in cheaper models, and including ours, to develop rust on the plates that cause the electrical arc to cause that. So it's one of those, the more you go in the humidity, the more you could be needing to replace the ballast plates, which is, we can swap that out. That's not an issue. You can swap that out. We can just do the parts. But if you don't, say you got one off Amazon and it's a cheap Chinese one and stuff, you're now adding to that whole oxidational thing and causing the unit to stop working faster.
So what you talked a little bit Chinese units, dual plates. What makes your ozone generator work faster and better than a much cheaper unit I could get off of Amazon?
So we did reach out to several Chinese suppliers because our ballasts do come from China as well. Unfortunately, it's just the way the world works nowadays when it comes to electronic components. A lot of times China can do things better and do them in quantity that you could use. We reached out to several of them. A few of them flaked out, but we found one that genuinely knew what he was making. They didn't, this is a 3-gram unit and sell it up to us as a 10. They stood by it. They were certified. They made everything to in-house themselves. And that's how we were able to at least guarantee secure that ours is a 10-gram or 10,000 milligram ballast unit. Now, we paired that with a dual ball bearing fan that'll run for over 5 years of life, guaranteed from the manufacturer to us. So if you got a fan issue, let me know. Shouldn't. But it's also not such a very thin fan. It's a thicker blade. So we're not only creating more air volume, we're creating more pressure to actually force more air through the box to help get it out there.
More of a vacuum to suck it across the plates, if you will.
Okay.
Basic science. Just give it more juice and give it more air and let her flow free.
A lot of the cheaper alternatives I have noticed on a couple of them, I'm not going to drop a brand name, but they advertise it as a 10-gram unit, and I've put it up against our 10-gram unit, and it was half of that. And the price definitely reflected that. And I go, well,
I'll put it to you this way. If it's got one plate, it's not 10 grams.
Okay.
Some of them do have 2 plates, and they're really tiny, too.
Yeah.
They just won't put it out.
Yeah, I got one years ago that the link was 10 grams, but then somehow they changed the link to 5. Like the same exact product. I was like, okay, so I didn't get like the actual like potency.
It's just how many plates you want them to stack on top and wire them in series and stuff like that.
We didn't just take like, okay, what's inside an ozone machine? Let's find those pieces and make our own with a new case. We did research on every single component in there to try and find the best of the best for each one of those parts, and then getting them to pair together, and then getting them to work with a battery and then a socket if you wanted to. So there's
people don't realize batteries are DC powered and wall plugs are AC powered, and those two things don't like each other. One does not run the other. In fact, I can tell you from being in Iraq, if you plug in something AC into something DC, it go boom real quick. So creating a box that would let Nikola Tesla and Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison's creations work as one as a unit. That it wasn't simple, and that's also partly where some of the cost comes into that. To make something to do either or involve putting more components inside of our box than you will find in the Chinesium one, and that adds to the cost, unfortunately, because electronic components are not cheap. Sorry.
I'm sitting here kind of mystified. Josh, where did all of this like engineering background come from?
Oh man, if I can answer that one for him, that would be great. I've known him for 10 years, and me and him call each other autistic when it comes to stuff we're interested in. He got me interested in detailing when I was a window tinner, and I did car audio at the time. And when he got me into detailing, it's just immediately within 5 hours, I knew everything about detailing that was in this man's brain. So he starts, it don't end until he figures out the best way to do something.
I'm like a jukebox. If you put a dime in, you got to let me play the song. I can't stop it.
Jukeboxes are $1 now.
You said Iraq, though. So did you serve overseas?
I did. I was in the Marine Corps, and I deployed to Iraq in 2009.
Oh, wow. How many years were you in the service?
4 years.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wait,
did you have to take did you have to do anything like this in the military?
Kind of. I did logistics. So a lot of my job was getting things from point A to point B, or point B back to point A when you're in point A and you're not even on the other side of the world. So developing relationships with people you've never met, communicating, developing what I like to call favors. Basically, I need help. Can I borrow that truck for 6 weeks? Nobody ask questions, please. Those really help, and having a great resource ability to do that really helped me in what I do now. I didn't learn engineering or anything from that side of it, but I did learn a lot about networking and getting resources, moving them around, figuring out what you need to be successful. If, say my unit was like, we want to go to Iraq on this time and we want to take the following people, everything else is on me. And it has to be on me to not only just get it done, I have to get it done to every branch's organization. So if we're using an Air Force plane to get there, I got to partner with the Air Force now and do everything on their word. And sometimes that's, like if you go to, say, a blender who's in, say, I don't know, France. I don't speak French and don't know the customs and cultures, but I'm going to figure it out real quick so I don't offend this person and get them to want to work with me. So that's really what I kind of learned from all of that, was doing a lot of that and how to basically juggle flaming chainsaws, because that's what being a product manufacturer is. It's nothing more than just 4 things up in the air at once and seeing what's coming down to grab and reroute.
Right. The one thing we may not have in stock, you get 10 people. Hey, when's this coming back in? Okay, we're waiting on people from overseas to get us what we need. We're waiting on the bank account to sell something else to get the money to get the... He makes stuff move really well when it shouldn't even be moving. I don't understand it sometimes.
Got to grease skids in advance. You always got to grease skids in advance because you never know what's going to hit.
So I ask some typical questions each time I have a podcast. So I'm going to ask you guys this question. And I think some of your products, you actually designed them to answer some of these questions. But what improvements or changes would you like to see in the detailing industry?
I definitely design products to try to answer that question.
That's a Josh question. He's the innovative one that rethinks everything in the industry. Me, I'm focused on my customers. I'm focused on his products now that I work for Detail Addicts. I'm paying more attention to the industry. So before, I'm kind of out of that realm. I'd be like, I don't care what another detailer thinks. It's all about my customer. He's the one telling me all the time in my back ear, I seen so-and-so doing this, but what if they could do this? It's just every day has some kind of new idea.
So honestly, I think the best, what I would like to see moving forward for the industry wide, and this is going to be directed at no brand in particular. If the shoe fits and you feel offended, I am sorry. But one of the things, or the 1-2 punch that I see that I'd love to see us change up off of, is shiny object syndrome. Something new comes out and the people just have to have it. Greatest example, and I'm going to name drop here accidentally. Please don't hate me, guys. I love your brand. Rupes dropped a cordless polisher. I'm no different with a cordless ozone machine, but the detailing world went nuts the moment they got wind of it.
I bought one.
And I know guys that have 3 or
You're
4 or
problem,
5
Dan.
other polishers in their shop. Some they don't even touch for a while.
I sold my Rupes. Yeah.
Why do you need to go drop more hundreds of dollars on something that you already have equipment on hand that works well for you? It's a need, not a want. Want, not a need. You got to figure that out. The second one is, for me personally, is a lot of brands do what I like to call Chinese food menu syndrome. I will throw one brand under the bus, is the kind of industry known of it. Chemical Guys is a great example. They make 40 bajillion SKUs. 19 of them are all the same product, just rescented, recolored, reblended a different way.
But their customers don't know it because most of them are beginners. And so
correct,
like,
but that also makes it hard for the customer to understand and learn what they're doing.
True.
When you say, hey, a waterless wash can be your clay lube, it can be your waterless wash, it can be a quick detailer, it can be an interior detailer. Using one thing at different dilution ratios and stuff made it more cost effective for you, but you now have a better understanding about cleaning itself and not just using the one dedicated thing that is the only thing that does for that. And if you don't have it, you're up a creek. So the less 40, 40 different types of soap. Do you need 40 soaps?
Smells good though.
It do. But I mean, you need 40 shampoos? Maybe not. Maybe 2 or 3. Maybe you need a salt-based one for up north with all the heavy salts on the road for the winters. Maybe one that has a bug remover in it built in for springtime down in the south or something. I can't more than one is necessary. Come
if
on
it's
down
not,
to Florida.
It's about to be with him.
We'll show you love bugs. We'll show you.
Soap? Brilliant.
But just something that would be like, a little bit more simpler so that people have a better comprehension of what they're actually doing, in so much more than just having the product that solves the problem. Because while the product does solve the problem, if you're not aware of what you're doing, you might have 4 other products just sitting on your shelf that can also solve that problem for you. And that's what I'd like to see improve in the industry a little bit is. And I know I'm a little bit of a red herring for saying this because I'm pushing new products as well, but push good products on people and products people need, not products that, just help you grow the bank account better. That didn't do anything for the industry as a whole.
Right.
That leads me to my second question. What are some of the challenges you see within the industry, and how do Detail Addicts products help overcome those challenges?
So we try to use a less is more philosophy. We have a compound and a polish. They also kind of work vice versa, as we've kind of alluded earlier. We could make more polishes and compounds. I've had people interested in that.
Something for black GM paint.
Yeah, we will work towards that, but we also don't want to just flood 40 different polishes on you at once, and then you get confused and not understand which one is going to work.
Back to that Chinese foods and menus.
Plus, I mean, you did say earlier when we were off screen how expensive it is. That polishes, second to coatings, are like the most expensive chemical to create.
Yes. Yes. So. It is not cheap. Those that make coatings for the cheap, I'd love to talk to your chemists and have questions because I know I'm never going to get those answers. There's times I look at products and the price that they're charging and stuff, and I'm like, do you have an industry contact at, Dow Chemical or BASF that you're stealing these from? Because this doesn't make mathematical sense. And the same thing goes with overly expensive stuff too. Sometimes things are just overly priced to be overly priced. But just releasing things that people need, things that work for people, and just letting them speak on their own is where I really think we'll do better as a whole. And that's kind of what we're going towards. I'm not going to tell you everything we got in the R&D pipeline, but he has heard me talk about this thing that he knows exactly when I do this, what I'm talking about, that I am obsessed with. And I won't say it out loud because for years I mentioned it to every brand in the world to do this. And everybody gave me the same, okay, kid, sure. And I promise you, when I can get it to do what I want to do drops, you're going to watch the industry realize Josh was right. This solves so many problems. It makes my life so much effortlessly simpler, and I can almost shut my brain off. It just, it works. It just works. That's what we're driving towards.
You try to drop a bomb on people without letting them know
I'm
what
done.
it is,
I'm
which
done.
isn't fair. So
yeah, they won't give me any teasers, guys. I tried. Even off camera, I was like, maybe if they told me.
we can give you a few teasers, but what he's talking about is not a product. It's an idea for not just our industry, but almost every industry worldwide that deals with water weight. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. That's as much as we can say about it.
I come from a logistical shipping background.
Just because there might be patents out there that we have to look into before we can talk about it and get that rolling. It's expensive, and it's on our radar. So that'll be exciting when that happens.
I'll keep my ear to the ground.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty industry changing, I would assume, unless we're still just detail addicts in the background and people are like, what the hell are these guys doing? We have no idea,
I honestly
but that's why my job comes in. I'm going to try and market Detail Addicts a lot better than it's been in the past.
I was going to say, if you need some connections, I have some friends. I'd be glad to connect you if you
take all of
are looking to get some feedback. So
yes, please.
If you guys could do it all again, what would you do differently?
Oh, that's easy. I'm going to go back to what I just said before. We would not start with a compound and polish when we got $2 and a Mountain Dew to our name, okay? It's not smart business practice, okay?
Yeah. It was just, 6 months ago. Josh called me and said, I think I need help, and I'm looking for a chemist. And I go, why are you looking for a chemist?
At this
point?
He
goes, I'm trying to make some more products, and I got to get something else done and out there because the ozone machine's not selling and nobody knows about it. I was like, you have to put some money into marketing. And he goes, well, how? I want to find more chemicals. And I looked up like this. If you've ever read a label anywhere on anything, we can't pronounce half of what those chemicals are.
I summon demons on the regular.
Yeah, he's summoning demons over here on the phone with me, telling I found it on Amazon for a 5-gallon bucket of it for this. Okay, you don't know if it's the exact one that you need. You're not a chemist, Josh. I'm the friend that's been in there saying, hey, you can't afford to buy another $5,000 worth of chemicals to try and mix and have it fail. You also can't afford to mix that, think that it works semi-good, and then put it out there and destroy our image. So you can't afford this right now. We have to do some other steps first and market us and sell what we're good at now. Build up our account, and we will get to those points.
I'm smart, but I did not get an A+ in organic chemistry. So sometimes you got to defer to we use a CAD designer because there's somebody who's just a little bit better with CAD, computer automated design than me. Same thing. There are chemists who are they're on the ball, and it's honestly
passionate. It's what they do.
Yeah, it's best to reach out and talk to professionals, and each individual's expert. I'm great at logistics and juggling things, but organic.
You're great with the ideas too. Yeah. The ideas are great. Implementing the idea, he's great at that too. Implementing it the correct way, yeah, I'm going to give you a C.
Well, no, I mean, I think honestly, you've done a great job, Josh, with Platinum, with Diamond. They're two of the best compounds and polishes that I have used. And I mean, I have a shelf full. We're talking Kushemi, Grios, Angel Wax, all of the top brands. I've used all of them. And for some reason,
object syndrome right there.
No,
no, polishes are great to have in your arsenal.
It's kind of my job.
No, my shelf is the same way.
What I was trying to get at, yes, maybe I have an addiction. Hi, my name is Chelsea.
Welcome.
But surprisingly, Platinum is one of the ones that I always seem to reach for the most. I just keep buying it in the big bottle because I go through it. So I think honestly, you made fantastic products. You teased us a little bit on what's to come. I mean, you said, are there new products coming? I don't need to know exact things.
I'm going to be quiet and let him dictate how much I spoil. Because in the past, I've just let everything out far in advance and forecast.
Dan, shut up. Let Josh talk.
Right. So we've kind of hinted at that a couple of times now. First things first, this new, which way am I going? My camera's reversed. This new ozone machine that's right here, fake background image. That one is not available just yet in that pretty black and white design. That is
what makes it different. What makes it different other than the cool 3D printing?
So it's there's been a couple things inside the unit that we've not necessarily changed, but we had to add one more thing compared to, let's say, the unit that you have.
Okay.
We experienced somebody trying to charge their battery through the unit at the same time, and it was trying to use both at the same time. So we've added, I forget exactly what it's called.
So we added a low voltage disconnect, and that was part of a problem. That also solves another problem. Unfortunately,
there's more space in the box, though.
Yes, batteries are patented technology. I cannot sell you this. This is owned by DeWalt and their parent company. They own the rights to it, including the design of it. It's kind of a gray area of tools that just use it, though, since I didn't actually sell their patented technology. The problem is, since every battery manufacturer is different, some of them put a disconnect in the battery, some of them put it in the tool. So if you use the battery and a lithium ion, you don't want to use it all the way to 0. It can damage the cells. So they like to stop themselves at a couple volts just short. Certain brands didn't do that, and we've had to adjust that. And since we make every box the same, whether it's a Flex, a DeWalt, or the internals are all the same, so we gave it to everybody. So that's one of the changes. For you, Chelsea, and all the other Gen 1s that have those, you can, and we will be in reach out. You'll be able to send that back to me, and I can do a conversion modification to your device to have that for you and give you the 1.5 update, if you will. So you'll still
Can you put new batteries in my display, because mine are dead?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is
that's another topic that we're looking into as well.
Yes,
once
finding
you mentioned it to me,
display that's wired in voltage is a little hard. Most of them are battery powered, or they're too big.
I actually wanted to make a recommendation. I don't even know if it's possible, if it would take too much battery. Can you make the display backlit? Because when I'm outside the vehicle, I can't see it. It's impossible.
They might take more juice. I'm not sure if I can find a manufacturer that makes those in backlit, because I don't make the hydrometer.
Hey, if anybody in chat, if you know about a hydrometer,
if you do,
send us a link.
Please let us know. Or if you find one that's also hardwired in 12-volt DC, so that way we don't have to use a battery, so they don't keep running out of batteries whenever you're not using, or whenever it's just sitting on the shelf and then the display kind of goes dead. That is something, unfortunately, we just have not found it. It does not exist in any form of the retail world, or, behind scene doors of buying things. So if you find it and let me know, please, we'll absolutely getting in to do that. The same thing kind of goes with like a run indicator. I've had people ask, how many minutes of runtime does the battery have?
That was my question.
The problem with that is no battery is the same.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a different amp hour size, so it's hard for the unit to know how much runtime is actually a ton. The other equivalent to that is we could do something like that. The problem is that goes into using custom PCB computer boards and stuff like that. And if you don't like the price now using off-the-shelf components, I promise you. Plus, the benefit of this too is, like I said, if you say the ballast burns out or your fan conks out, we can send you just the replacement parts with just an Allen key. You can undo the cover, change the batteries, 2 bolts, and you've got the ozone ballast out, and a new one goes right back in. It's like a World War II Jeep. It should just run like an appliance and not need much attention, other than the batteries. Sorry. Other than that, though, it should just work. And if it doesn't work, it shouldn't take you but a few moments in the field with the most basic of tool and zero electrical comprehension to be able to fix the item.
Right. We kind of made it idiot proof as well. So if you do have an issue with it, you dropped it, something knocked loose inside, whatever the issue may be, you can call either one of us. And if you don't feel like, checking out our YouTube channel to see what's inside this unit and how to repair it, that video is going to be uploaded pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to be making a whole thing. Basically, you want to know how to change the fan? Here's a 5-minute video on exactly watch us do it in each step by step, so you can see it yourself.
It's very idiot proof for the inside, so you can open that up.
Durable.
Yeah, it's very durable. It's very easy to change any kind of component in case anything goes bad, and there is a warranty on it. If you don't feel like doing that, you can send it back to us. We will fix it and send it right back to you after we test it and make sure that it works.
And that's part of the version 2 update too, is not just adding the disconnect, is we've changed some of the mounting the way the things connect into each other. In Gen 1, they're done with crimped ring terminals and things are soldered together. Still can be fixable. In Gen 2, we use a much more friendly, it's a Wago lever style connector. So with just a flick of it, you can pull the wire out and back in, and it's super solid. It's not going to have any resistance issues or anything like that, meaning less tools are needed in the field to possibly change.
And it's cleaner on the inside because of those Wago connectors.
You get more airflow across the plates, and it actually gets a better performance bang out for haven't metered how much more.
That being said, because version 2 is not completely out yet, we're waiting on our CAD designer for one more small little tweak on the inside of it. The unit that he was holding it works. It's not the finished design because of like a millimeter on the inside because of the fan or something.
That's printing right now as we speak.
CAD guy's already on it. So
you said how long does it take to print one generator?
3 days.
And how much plastic does it take?
Well, in this fancy two-tone color, it takes 3 days. In the mono color that you have, it's actually just a little over a day and a half.
Yes.
What made you go with two-tone to make it longer?
Brand recognition.
The marketing guy down below.
Couldn't do a sticker?
Well, the sticker's going to fall off.
It's not as durable as
a good sticker.
Different porous plastics with stickers. Anyway, with the stickers.
It's another 2 days. What does it matter?
Eggs, not
so these are going to be built to order as well.
Yeah.
We will have a few of each one on the shelf. But until they start actually selling really well or more often and becoming popular, we'll then start pre-building more of them. But he's got, how many printers do you have? 5? 4? 4. So we could potentially do 4 units in 3 days.
No, they're not.
No.
Okay, so what is the chance of the ozone generator price dropping ever?
Well,
actually, I was trying to get to that sentence. So until version 2 is available, obviously once that 3-day print is done, we're testing it, and we're going to, the quantities that we have currently on hand of version 1, they've already got the update for the Wago connectors and the other things inside of them. So they're exactly like version 2 on the inside, just not the outside. Those ones are going to be on sale, actually starting when this podcast started at 7 p.m. Central. So they are on sale for a discount. So if anybody wants them, head over to Detail Addicts, look at your Bio-Ozone generators, and snag them on sale. Yes. Once those quantities are done, you still get a warranty on it and everything. And like I said, it's exactly like version 2, just not the look. And once those quantities are out, that's when we're dropping version 2, and that'll be available.
We got 9 sitting on the shelf, ready to rock in various colors and battery types, and I've got about another 15 mixed match color various types that will also be being built. So we have theoretically up to 24 of them.
Yes.
So give me 1 second. I'm bringing up your website real quick.
Okay.
And I'm going to screen share it.
By the way, there's no code. It just auto applies the discount on checkout.
All right. So give me a second. Share screen. We're good. We didn't even talk about some of these things.
Some of the other 3D printed stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the cap wrench right there. That one was my idea. I got really sick of opening 5-gallon products and having to use channel locks.
Will that work for Koshemi's?
Yes, that's actually so. There was a gentleman that was in my area with one of the Koshemi vans that they now, I believe, they got rid of those. I watched him struggle with one of the Koshemi manufactured ones for their bottles, struggle to get it on there and open it. And I go, I think we can make something for this that will fit multiple manufacturers. That's why there's all the lines on the inside. I sent over Josh about 5 different caps: G-Technic, Angel Wax, Koshemi. What else did I send in there? 3D, I believe. 3D and McGuire's maybe. Some of the more common ones. And he sized them all up. So you just put that on there and it just finds the teeth that it needs for whatever manufacturer and opens.
I'm kind of intrigued by your pad holders because I have the metal ones and there are times that I almost cut myself.
Ooh.
Because they're so sharp.
Ours are all rounded smooth, so that isn't going to be an issue at all. The limiting factor on ours is, unfortunately, 3D printers can only make so much volume.
Yeah.
So ours hold, I think, 10 or 12 pads inside of them. But
depends on the manufacturer of the pads too.
We're limited in height, and that I know some of the metal ones can maybe hold more. That's unfortunately a restriction of the printer size. I have been eyeballing manufacturers trying to find bigger printers. There was a tease. It didn't kind of really happen the way we were hoping it would this year. There's more rumors of bigger printers. Until we get something that can print bigger, we make them as great as they can be. They hold as much as we can, and that's unfortunately.
They're actually pretty cheap though.
I those on my wall and have flexed the crap out of those, and they do not snap.
They're actually pretty affordable though in comparison to the metal ones.
That's the benefit of having printers, that once we get the files right and stuff, so long as I keep the printers cleaned, maintained, and, happy, because they're little. You think printing things in 2-dimensional is hard.
Look, there's a reason you guys don't ever want to hear about printer issues, and those are paper printers.
But, they just go. So as we, build up an inventory, we only hold so much on hand because we're not trying to hold 10,000 things. If you need like say 40 black 1-inch pad holders, shoot me a message. We make the machines go buzz. I got 4 of them, and they can just go and go and go. And we have economies of scale in that form. It makes it a little bit more competitive. And we're not always as cheap as, say, injection molding might be a little bit cheaper than that. But again, how much was that mold to get each individual product? So,
Josh, we need to talk your all-in-one compound. The Diamond Plus.
Everything you love about Platinum or Diamond now just has a plus version to it, and that just means it has an SiO2 additive into it to give you 6 months of protection.
Yep. Up to 6 months of protection.
I need to order a bottle.
See, this is why we hired Dan, because I don't do very good marketing naturally.
No, you don't.
Look at the new label on the new bottle. It looks
so sharp. Now, can I top that with a ceramic sealant to make it more durable?
Yes, SiO2 likes SiO2. So
I could put like Griot's 3-in-1 or Pan ceramic sealant, and it lasts longer than 6 months?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. All right, we're going to order that.
We actually came up with that.
Oh, it's sold out. When's it going to be back in stock?
There you go, Josh. It says
sold out.
Yeah, it says sold out as he turns around to look at the inventory. I could have sworn you had Diamond Plus on the shelf.
I'll be updating some things tonight. I don't know why that says 16 ounces sold out. I'm looking at the bottle on the shelf right now. I'm sorry, folks.
I know Conway says, I'm not a fan of polish with protection. When I'm doing a gloss enhancement, I love it. When I'm doing a ceramic coating, no. But if a customer says to me, what can you do just to, clean up the paint? $150 service. If I can put something down that's going to last 6 months, that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
But if I can skip a step, that's great too.
Yes, I understand both sides of the coin on that one. I do both as well at my shop. I listen to my customers' input. If they're that customer that says, hey, can you polish my car? I'm not comfortable with the polisher. It's a show car. I want to put my own wax on it afterward. Not a problem. I'm not using the AIOs then, because I'm not trying to put protection on not knowing what he's going to use on the car next.
And Conway, that's what Platinum and Diamond were originally created with. When we first dropped those, I'm going to throw a brand under the bus. I'm sorry, guys. I really am. HD Speed was like the thing on the market that we were all using.
I love it.
Yeah, I still have my bottle
full of wax. So if you were trying to do a ceramic coating afterward, you're literally putting a protection on to try to remove it, to then put the coating on.
Yeah.
You were double working yourself in the middle. So we wanted to make something that gave you the benefits like 3D Speed. No waxes, no SiO2s, no fillers, no nothing. Please wipe it with a panel prep afterward and reveal it. It's going to look identical, maybe even a little glossier afterward. Yep. It was just meant for those that want it without, or those that want to do their own coatings or protections on them. That's why we started with that.
Now, actually, I wouldn't mind name dropping as well. The reason I pushed so hard 2 years ago to start the ball rolling on testing with the AIOs, to find the right SiO2 to put in there, is because Billy Smith at Akron Pro actually called me and said, hey, I need something that's going to, like, they're using Platinum and Diamond over there like crazy on all their dealership work. They said, look, we want to put some kind of protection on there, but we're not trying to add an extra step.
Yeah.
So it's perfect for shops like that as well.
Yeah.
Now, have you tested that? Is it really up to 6 months?
Yes.
I have done it on my own.
Because some say 6 months and it lasts like a week.
Right. I don't always let R&D out of the bag when it's currently happening. We might be R&Ding something right now, and I'm not mentioning it to anybody because R&D is just that. You don't know what makes it in or out of the lab. Right. A lot of things fail through the R&D phase or need an adjustment. So I learned during that phase to be very tight-lipped. Once I start letting things slip, it means it's promising. We've started to get things dialed in and this and that. With some things, we're just not there yet in that. So the AIOs were thoroughly field tested, and that's why he said 2 years ago. I sat on that for a year trying to figure out when was the right time, and also not like trying to double step on my own stuff when I'm trying to drop other things that I've been prepped. It's I got this and this and this and this all at once. Jesus, Josh, I've got $40 to my name right now. Calm down.
Why I'm here to try and calm them down. Like, when's the right time? It's never really going to be the right time, but just make sure that people know when it is the time. Diamond Plus released, and Chelsea freaked out. Well, oh my God, it's available. I got to buy it now. It's been available for about a month now.
I didn't know.
Exactly. So,
and if it cuts like, does it cut like diamond or does it cut like
exactly
platinum?
The same as diamond.
Diamond with SiO2.
Yes.
Do you have a platinum plus?
Yes.
Can you send me a bottle of both?
I mean, it probably will end up in the mail. Yes.
I'll use both heavily. No, I love
it's great stuff. I've tested them on a few customer vehicles already. I've even tested them on gel coat already. And yes, the reason we don't just say, oh, it's 6 months of protection. It's up to 6 months of protection because it's not a coating. It's a sealant. And it's going to depend on so many different factors. As any of us with a detail shop know, our customers maintain their vehicles completely different from the way we would from every other individual customer, and their driving habits are different and where they keep the car and everything. So
would you equate it to like Angel Wax Enigma all in one?
It's very similar to that. Yes.
Okay. Because I love that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you guys get Angel Wax on your site? Like Eddie's been trying to get Angel Wax.
You got to know some people. No, we're good friends with a lot of the Angel Wax guys, and both of us bought in to be resellers quite a few years ago. He is still just a reseller. My shop actually became a center of excellence, and I'm a registered trainer for Angel Wax. I'm also a distributor and reseller of Angel Wax, so I believe in that brand very heavily as well. And I also own angelwaxchicago.com, where it's the distributorship of all Angel Wax products in the Midwest.
So like if the House of Rags wanted to try to bring Angel Wax to the House of Rags, would they need to talk to you, Dan?
They would need to talk to Tommy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tommy is the man that runs everything in
Tommy Ramos Davis?
Yes.
Is that his name?
Yep.
That's him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you want to do anything in the United States involving Angel Wax, reach out to Tommy. He's a very great guy. I love him. He's a great, not like that, but he's a great dude. And that's the reasons why you see Angel Wax on my site. That's another company that I've watched. I've peeked behind their curtain a little bit. I can get down with what they do over there. There's nothing shady, fishy, anything like that's something that, like, if I didn't have Detail Addicts and you asked me to put my energy and time elsewhere, I'd probably be trying to shovel it into that brand because that's another brand I'd stand behind and say that they mean what they say.
Yeah.
They have some of the best compounds and polishes in the industry.
Their people are the real deal over there, and all we try to do is just, live up to some of the standards that they set to, being a smaller fish in the pond. They're bigger than us, and we look up to them as they look up to, like, say, a Mothers or a McGuire's or something, and we are all trying to emulate what we want to see in each other. So
yeah. Well, honestly, I would love to see, I love the fact that so many brands have been coming to the House of Rags. I would love to see companies like you guys and people being able to be introduced to your products. But till now, for people that want to purchase Detail Addicts, you guys can head to their website, www.detailaddicts.com. Is there any other place that they can purchase these products if they want to try them for yours?
You can get them on angelwaxchicago.com as well. I do carry all the compounds and polishes in stock. Okay. The 3D printed items are all on detailaddicts.com because he's got the printer, and there's no reason to ship them to me to ship to somebody else. I might do that eventually when I can open up some more space and maybe have a couple printers myself.
I'm going to interject for a moment. I'm going to be the salesman I never was.
I wanted to bring it up too, but it's not fully on there yet.
One of the things that I'm always looking for is other distributors and other companies that were interested in bringing our products. I've been thoroughly trying to get up into Canada before the issues with tariffs, and I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I've been trying to get into Europe. I've had people demanding from Europe that they want our stuff. Getting it to somebody over there that knows the markets and the local places and stuff has been challenging. Same thing with the West Coast of the United States. I've been actively trying to get our stuff because I'm based in Florida, and shipping times, being the logistics guy that I am, that's something I pride myself on. If it takes more than 3 days to get to you, I internally don't like that. So when you order something from me in California, it takes 4 to 5 days. It's the best we can do, and I can't stop UPS with that. If I could have somebody, an auto added, whatever they're called, on the West Coast that carries our products and stuff, we could send them to those people's websites too to help get the stuff locally faster and quicker. Currently, it's just a couple of websites. We're always looking and trying to find the right, partnership that we can get our products into their houses to get them local or into your backyard fast.
And we've had multiple conversations with multiple big distributors out there that most of all of us know, even some of the enthusiasts know.
We will not name drop these people, right? Because they're in our industry and we love them all.
We've just been dealing with the conversations back and forth, and it all boils down to numbers. And because we're a smaller business, we don't have the capabilities of dropping our price so drastically to put it on their shelf to match everybody else's discount that's on their shelf. We can't afford to do that. We'll lose all of our money.
It's a chicken and an egg problem.
It really is. So we need somebody to take the chance on us and be like, hey, I'll give you this up front. Just make sure our shelves are filled for as long as we want the product.
Can you direct ship?
We can. Yeah.
If we're talking numbers, and I'm just going to say that with the air quotes on that, numbers, whatever they may be, serious numbers, we have the ability to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If somebody in Europe right now is like, I know you're a small guy in Florida, but I'm talking pallets. Hit me up. I promise you, being the logistics magic man, I can.
We'll get
I've already
over there
greased these skids years ago in advance. They're ready to go. Yeah. I've got bigger blenders than myself that are ready to do this. It's all about making the money start moving and making the things happen. If you're ready, let me know. We can make it happen. I can drop ship you. I don't care where you're at in this world. Watch me get it to Australia.
Yeah.
You're passionate about this. I can tell. He's ready to go. You're ready to go to that next level, Josh.
I'm ready. Been running on the treadmill for a while.
And please, keep your eyes on Detail Addicts in the next 6 months. We're going to have some surprises in store, not just Ozone Generator version 2 dropping. It's going to be here to stay. There's going to be some more good news on the horizon and some more stuff that we hope will become a household thing that you guys love to have.
Yeah.
So.
Dan, keep in touch. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. I'm getting some feelers out there, and there's going to be some samples pretty soon.
Cool. All right. Something to look forward to. Well, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this closer look at Detail Addicts. And honestly, I think we geeked out a little bit. Polishes, Ozone Generator. You guys shared some stuff about ozone treatments that I honestly didn't know. Sometimes I feel like we regurgitate what we hear without actually knowing the science behind it. So thank you guys for sharing your expertise and answering my questions. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this podcast, getting to know them a little bit better. And if you have questions, reach out to Dan or Josh. They are fantastic at customer service and getting back to you. But thank you guys for sharing your evening with us. Next week, we're going to have a little bit of a different podcast episode. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at the House of Rags. But thank you guys. It was a joy to have you. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening and the rest of your week. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for watching, everybody.